Let me spend a few minutes addressing some of the frequently asked questions. And you may have a few more questions. One of the things that I put what to expect when we get there. What you can expect is a well-run modern airport, but it can be a little confusing when you get to the passport control and customs area. The main thing is if all of us who are traveling on American passports, we will have to have $20 ready to buy the visa. The visa is sold in the form of a sticker put into your passport at the window where it says visas. And basically they will put the sticker in when you give them the $20. And then you go around to passport control and that sticker is stamped with your date of entry. And then you can go through and go out to pick up the luggage. And customs, my experience of customs, where's Emery? He might, there you are. Okay, now my experience of customs is there is a guy sound asleep right by the door as you're leaving that area of the baggage claim and going out into the main terminal. I don't want to be too disparaging, but they just don't seem to have a high level of concern as our United States customs do. I would imagine if there's some kind of an alert or something or some reason to expect that people may need their baggage checked for customs purposes, but I have never found my bags checked. Often a couple of customs officials are, enjoying a glass of tea and talking with each other. So don't worry about customs. Everybody will have to have $20 American in order to go through. In order to buy the passport. Except the visa. I'm sorry, to buy the visa. Except, and I wish Sandra were here. Sandra, traveling on an Australian passport, has to give $20. Her friend Anna, coming from New Zealand, does not need a visa. Now, why? Probably God doesn't even know. But the visa requirements or the relations that they have with different countries are very, very strange. And when I saw that on their list that Australia does require the visa that you pay for in American cash or euros, not in Turkish lira, and not in Australian dollars either. But New Zealand doesn't. Who knows why? So Anna will be able to save a little money, but the rest of us, be prepared for $20. You may perhaps want to change a little money at the airport. There probably isn't much reason to, really. Currently, I just checked, $1 is worth 1.75 Turkish lira. 1 Turkish lira is worth half a dollar. So it's a fairly easy conversion. Think of a Turkish lira in terms of a 50-cent piece, and right now you'll have a pretty good estimation of the cost of things.
So $1 is equal to what?
$1/2 is 1 euro.
No, yeah.
$1.
$1 is
One
lira.
1 lira is 50
1
cents.
lira is 50 cents American, approximately. 1 lira.
No, you said it.
$1 is 1.75 lira.
It's not,
Am I accurate to your understanding?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's correct.
That's now on your computer. I don't know how you do this on a Mac, but on Windows, Windows 7, if you left-click on the desktop screen, you get a list of apps, gadgets, they call them, to go on the desktop. One of them is currency converter. You can plug into the currency converter Turkish lira and US dollar, and every time you turn the computer on, there you have the current exchange rate.
Father, I tend to budget. So if I were to take American dollars and want to convert them as I go, how easy would that be?
Well, that'll be the next step. Budget on paper, utilizing your ATM card and credit card. I think it's important to be able to have both debit and credit, because the easiest and best way of getting cash there is at an ATM machine. And the ATM machines that we will use are safe because they are in banks. So they're about as safe as you can get. I would, the ones in the tourist stops, I wouldn't. I don't think I would trust. But the banks, I think that you can trust, and everybody is using them. You'll have to wait in line at most ATMs with the, with the locals who are getting cash also. So I would really like to urge you to plan on using ATM machines for cash. And then to also make larger purchases by credit card if they will accept it, which most places will accept credit card. So about all that I can say would be think about what you might be using, how you might want to budget your incidental expenses, and plan in increments of maybe 200 lira at a time, 200, 300 lira at a time, to just get whatever cash you need. If you're really frugal, I would suspect that you can get by on $20 a day on incidental expenses, even including lunch. The main things that you'll probably be buying during the day, in addition to souvenirs, would probably be bottled water. Bottled water is everywhere, and very convenient and very cheap. A large, 3-liter bottle would be a lira, I believe, and smaller bottles would be significantly less. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
Now
But I would really like to, strongly urge. I even said, don't bring traveler's checks. They're useless. Do not bring American cash and expect to, well, let me put it this way, expect everybody to wait for you while you are going into the bank changing cash. Because the most religious and most charitable and kind and generous of us also do tend to have a bit of limited patience when one person has to stand in line in order to change cash, and we're all finished with the ATM. So what can I say? ATM and credit card, you'll be fine. think that would be it about money. I certainly, if you can at all, please, if you feel that you are able to, and it's not that arduous a thing, but if you feel you're able to, and you don't have acrophobia or something like that, the balloon ride in Cappadocia is well worth that money. Overall safety, you're going to be as safe there as you are here. I find it safer. The drivers in Istanbul are legendary for being bad drivers. I'll take Istanbul any day to Santa Monica Boulevard. Thank you very much. I think I would rather walk across some of the busy streets in Istanbul rather than walk across Santa Monica Boulevard, to be honest. So, you know, certainly they're no worse than Rome. Or China. Worse than China, I understand. Staying healthy. I have some very, very strong preferences and strong rules about what is necessary, advisable, and not necessary. The first thing that is important about staying healthy is leave here healthy and get there healthy. And the way that you will leave here healthy is by, from this point on, being very careful about exercise, about sleep, get enough sleep, about your diet, eat regularly. If you take supplements, take your vitamins, and basically keep your immune system up, in other words. Keep your immune system in good shape. I always take Airborne every day. For a few days before I leave, you know what Airborne is?
No.
It's a vitamin C supplement that supposedly was formulated by a teacher, and you know no place is better for getting diseases than the classroom. Supposedly formulated by a teacher with vitamin C and other supplements and whatnot, that's supposed to keep your immune system up. I do take one Airborne every day there, and do it a few times. I always take 2 Airborne on the flight, because you are breathing recycled air for 13 hours on the flight. So try to be healthy on the flight. I do not believe it is necessary to bring sterile wipes to wipe everything around you. I don't believe that Oriental-style face masks are necessary, unless you're the one who is coughing and sneezing. Then I might pull one out and say, here, wear it.
Good idea.
But it doesn't really help the air that you intake. What does help is if you do cough or sneeze or cough into your elbow. Not into a handkerchief, because what happens to the handkerchief? You cough or sneeze into it, and then you wrap it up and put it in your pocket, and, well, hello there, and you have just transmitted whatever it is you have. So the real etiquette for coughing and sneezing is into your elbow.
The kids call that the vampire sneeze.
The vampire sneeze. Every teacher knows that. That's what you teach your kids. The vampire sneeze. And Mrs. Columbus will be sure to enforce the vampire sneeze, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we got that taken care of. The other essential thing is to wash your hands. Wash your hands. Wash your hands. More than you ever think is necessary. And there are the options to wash your hands, you know, whenever we go to a rest stop. I would say washing your hands is one reason to bring those moist towelettes along. Most of them are alcohol-based. That's wonderful. They're disinfectant also. But you don't need those for the disinfectant quality nearly as much as for the cleansing. Because all of the germs basically need moisture, need some kind of medium. So in cleaning your hands, you are removing the medium and therefore cleaning the germs. So you don't have to worry about killing germs. You just have to worry about getting rid of what they're traveling on. And I think that's, that's kind of the most important. We did have one year where there was somebody who came on the pilgrimage sick, running a fever, with a cold, flu, something or other. By the time that pilgrimage was finished, everybody except, I think, 2 people, and they were the 2 oldest. Age has some advantages, I guess. The 2 oldest, everybody else had gotten it. Some got quite sick. There was a couple who came back and said their doctor told them that they had pneumonia. There was one that the night before we were to leave, she was so sick we took her to the hospital. The hospital said, "You can't go," and she stayed for 5 days. That gave me 5 extra days. But that reminds me too. The hospital there, this was a German hospital in Istanbul, was wonderful. I envied, her room was so much better than my room in the dinky hotel. But you really don't want to have to be there. But had she come over, she'd have probably died. So it was one of those decisions on my part that I'm very grateful that I made. That not to try that trip back, but to stay there in the hospital. She had wonderful care. 5 days of care. The insurance company did cover it, but 5 days of care, everything that she needed was less than $5,000. You wouldn't have gotten that for less than $50,000 or $60,000 here. So if you get sick, get on a plane and go back there. But that I saw how the epidemic spread, and so that's why I'm very strong about what we need to do to stay healthy. How about food? Use the same precautions for food that you would use eating out here. Very likely, most of the restaurants, I think, are as conscious of sanitary preparation of food as most of the restaurants are here, which is probably better than most housewives in kitchens are. But I don't think you have to worry about the food. You may have a little siege of diarrhea or constipation. Be prepared for that. But that's more because of the change of schedule than it is from any kind of foodborne illness. So that's not to say it's impossible, but my experience is there's just minimal problems with any kind of foodborne illness. Water also is generally safe. In some places, particularly Istanbul, it's probably more, it's nicer to be drinking bottled water. It's convenient to take with you, it's cheap, and so on. Have any thoughts on that?
No.
Pretty much, am I okay?
Very good, very good.
Okay. What to wear. Pack your clothes so that, for the most part, the only thing that you really need to wash is the stuff that's against your skin. And the rest of the things, sort of be layered. I find that if I'm wearing a t-shirt underneath, one of the things that I always am able to get away with is wear an outer shirt for one day and then let it air, let it rest for a day, and then put it on a subsequent day or something like that. But plan for it to be chilly. Not cold, cold, cold. Like Aiden said, we may run into some, we could run into some snow. Cappadocia is where we have run into snow twice, but it's been very little snow. I don't think we'll have any problem, you know, with significant snow that would significantly be on the ground that we would have to walk through.
How much rain?
Rain, what I think I would plan for would be like maybe half a day of rain every 2 or 3 days. That's kind of been my experience. And God has sometimes been very nice to us. And, you know, we've been through some very sunny places. Get on the bus, it starts raining. Wherever we go, we get off the bus and it stopped raining. I mean, what better timing could you get? Electricity. Everything electronic that has a rechargeable battery or a transformer will have dual voltage. You do not have to worry about getting a converter. Do not invest in an electrical converter, you know, to convert 220 to 110. You won't need it. Every hotel has a hairdryer. Use that.
The outlets.
Pardon me?
The outlets.
The outlets are your standard European outlets, okay, which is the 2 little prong.
Yeah, but you have to have an extra.
Adapter.
You have to have an adapter.
Not converter, but
Not a converter, but an adapter. Now, online, I will put pictures of the kind of adapters to get and where you can get them. Amazon is a good place. If you want to buy them, I would say go to Fry's. Don't go to Radio Shack, because what they'll sell you is something that is good, you know, has all of these gadgets for all over the world. Well, you don't need that. You need your standard European one.
European?
European.
Even if we're in Asia?
Pardon me?
Even if we're in Asia as well?
Yeah. In other words, it's your standard European outlets.
Okay.
Because Turkey, even though most of Turkey is Asian, it's European too. So that's standard throughout the country. I will also be taking with me some extra ones, so you won't have to, you know, if you're in a pinch. A couple of things that I would be very careful of. Do not bring an immersion coil. You know, people who like to heat up a cup of hot water or something in the morning. Well, all of those here are for 110 volts. 220 may very well start a fire or blow a fuse. And then, you know, your whole hotel floor is in darkness. And somebody has to go down to the desk and say, you know, we're all in darkness up here. And they will have to come up and replace the fuse or whatever. And somebody is going to start wondering, okay, who do we point the finger to? The other thing for a laptop computer, don't bring a surge protector unless you are sure that it will handle 220 volts. Because if it's not capable of handling 220 volts, you plug it in, and guess what? You're in darkness again. So, some ladies might use a curling iron. John and I do not use a curling iron.
So you can't use them there, though.
Be very careful. Look on the box or on the label. If if it's dual voltage, which some are, it's okay. But I think most of them aren't. It might be well worth, if you use a curling iron, go down to the drugstore or Walmart or Target or someplace and look through all of the curling irons. There are some you will find maybe dual voltage.
How about chargers for phones?
Chargers for phones will be dual voltage. They're okay. Any electronic gizmo, they all are dual voltage.
Father, because you brought up hair dryers, do most of these hotels provide us with shampoo and conditioner?
Good question. Most of them provide you with those little bottles of shampoo and conditioner. You have to realize, of course, that you're going to be at the mercy of whatever shampoo and conditioner that they provide. If that doesn't make too much difference to you, fine. But there is another use for shampoo. Those little hotel shampoo bottles. They're wonderful for doing your clothes. Because shampoo, without conditioner, shampoo is basically formulated to rinse completely. And that's what you want when you're washing clothes. You don't want to have some kind of smelly residue in it. So I always just, I don't take Woolite. Woolite, they reformulated it, and I think it's awful myself now. I used to. But I'll just use the regular shampoo or soap in the hotel. One thing that it would be worth, and you'll find this online too when I get another, worth getting is one of those flat disc drain stoppers. The plug type drain stopper is not good because they're all different sizes. But the flat disc ones you can put. Very, very often the drain stopper in even a nice hotel, somebody decided that they wanted to take that home as a souvenir. So the drain stopper can be a helpful thing. The other thing, especially for washing, bring along several plastic hangers so that you can hang your things on and hang them up on a bar or a hook or something. Bring along a few plastic hangers. I also strongly recommend when you're packing anything that you can, especially to help to sort, put in Ziploc bags. Ziploc bags can be your best friend. And now I use the ones that have the, have the sliding closure on them. They are so handy. Anything else? Camera. Do not, the week before you leave, buy a camera. If you want to get a camera, buy one now. And because digital images are absolutely cheap, not like the old style film, use the camera, get used to it. And take it everywhere and take pictures so that you get used to the feel of the camera. Otherwise, and get used to downloading the images and all of that. Otherwise, you're going to get there and I'll be talking eloquently, and you'll be coming up to me and saying, "Okay, Father Tom, I can't figure out how to turn this on now." Well,
and to buy some extra memory.
Buy some extra memory. Bring as much memory as you can, unless you want to each evening upload the photos to your computer, which is fine too. But be sure you don't run out of memory. Now, those memory cards are readily available there. But of course, where tourists are running out of memory, they are going to make sure that you are paying for it. Yeah. So, but the memory cards are available, fairly readily available there. Just like you used to see all of these rows and rows of Kodak and Fuji film Now you see rows and rows of memory cards.
I have one question, Father, sorry.
Okay, and then Emory.
If we take our laptop and say we don't want to take it, like when we're there at the hotel 2 or 3 days or what have you, is there somewhere to lock it? Do they have like a, so we don't carry it in our backpack or to lock it up somewhere? Or you'd recommend just bringing it everywhere with us?
Well, like if you're several days in a hotel and you don't want to take it on the road with you, is that it? I've usually just left mine in the room. It's not that unsafe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I realize I'm crossing my fingers a little bit, but is that an iPad?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. You can take that everywhere. You can take pictures with it.
Yeah.
You and Father John Beverly can exchange notes on that. All of that. Yeah. I just bought this laptop. I used to have one about twice as large and 3 times as heavy. But I bought this one to take with me.
Mine's little too.
Here, I don't know.
Father, really quick, on clothing, in the churches, do you wear pants or do we have to wear scarves?
Okay, the thing that I would strongly recommend to everybody is don't bother with shorts.
No, this is probably it.
There may be some places where
All right,
shorts
Okay.
would be okay and no real problem.
okay.
But I personally think that we're good ringtone.
That's okay, I'll put them in the crate when I get home.
That's exciting.
All right.
All right.
But what I
Okay.
would suggest
All
is,
right.
there's very little dress
Oh, yeah.
code, but I would say sleeveless.
All right. Probably
and-
at 7.
And
Maybe I'll
shorts.
probably be home by
You're probably just better off not wearing them. As far
Yeah.
as far as
All right.
the mosques are
Talk to you
concerned,
later.
you should
All right.
have you should have a scarf. You can buy, everybody sells
Yeah.
scarves.
I almost
They have the
forgot
most
that.
beautiful ones in the world over
What if I
there.
forget?
There's no reason to bring one. But you can buy them very, very cheaply. I would say for the ladies here, make that one of your projects on that first free day to one of the stores to go along. Do a little scarf shop. Other than the other thing that can be helpful is you ask about shoes, and it can be worthwhile getting shoes that you can take on and off easily, that don't require 10 minutes to lace up, because you will be taking your shoes off to go into the mosque. So wearing socks is probably something that's advisable too. We're just not going to be enough in the summer to make it worthwhile even thinking about sleeveless tops and shorts and sandals. So
We can buy our sandals there.
if you want, you can buy sandals there. I would suggest bringing swimming attire. I would suggest swimming attire that you are, how would I say, something that at the end of the trip you would probably just want to throw away, leave there, and make room in your suitcase for something else. In other words, don't bring anything super expensive, because one of the best places for using it will be in Hierapolis in the hot mineral waters, the mineral bath. And we'll have the time to do some nice soaking in this wonderful, not terribly good smelling sulfur water that will, when you come out, your skin will be just so refreshed and your bathing suit will be somewhat stained.
What about towels? Do we also bring towels?
Don't have to bring towels. That does remind me, most important, Turkey has the most wonderful towels in the world outside of Egypt. They're the second best producers of high quality cotton. You will not find anywhere a washcloth.
A what?
Washcloth. So if you use a washcloth, if that's part of your daily hygiene routine, bring a couple of old ones, stuff them in Ziploc bags because they will be wet in your suitcase, but washcloth is absolutely essential if you use it. The towels are wonderful. Another trick with regard to, and you know, you may want to not hesitate to ask for a couple of more towels in your room. Usually that won't be any problem to get. But a trick is when you wash something out and you squeeze it as much as you can to get the water out, then lay a towel, big bath towel on the floor, lay the whatever you wash onto the bath towel, roll it up, and then stomp on it. And that will get an amazing amount of the water out of it into the towel.
Yeah.
And
Then
then
hang it out.
you probably don't want to use the towel to bathe. But that could make the difference between, it could make a day's worth of difference in the drying time of whatever you have. Now, yeah, you can also probably reuse that towel a second time for something else. And it might be the same towel that you used in the morning for, well, in other words, use your head. But do be sure washcloth is essential.